Yesterday, Bitcoin filled up the CME gap, and right now, looking at all the data, it is going to be extremely likely that Bitcoin is going to see this relief rally up towards the 200-day moving average. And on today's update video, I am going to be exactly reveal on how I am going to be trading this next move on the market right now. I'm going to talk about my exact strategy, about the liquidity heat map that is telling us something about what Bitcoin is going to be doing next year. I'm going to be, of course, talk about the fear and greed in the market, the aggressive US selling that currently is still ongoing, the bigger trends, the bigger skills, and of course, I want to be talking about my bear market targets, which I still have in mind, since if we're looking at most of the data, it is right now looking like we are going to get a bounce. Since if I'm looking at the data, we are most likely going to get a bounce, which is ultimately going to create the lower high. And on the next lower high, I am planning to open up a big trade on the market. So more about this in today's update video. So don't forget to once again slap that like button back above 1000 likes to be highly appreciated. And with that being said, let me jump straight away in today's update video. First of all, I want to discuss that yesterday more than $1 trillion was added to the US stock market. And yes, also yesterday, we saw Bitcoin, first of all, fill up the CME gap we talked about on yesterday's video. And after that, see that big bounce back towards the upside. So very great to see that we, of course, fill up that CME gap. Because, of course, ultimately, those CME gaps are inevitable to be filled up eventually. So it's better that you already have filled them up here. Then also, if I'm looking at the odds for the next interest rate decision, which is going to be happening in 15 days from now on, the chances that we are still going to get the rate cut in December are once again increasing now to 81% to be exact. Now to 81%, and that is, of course, quite massive for the market. Then, of course, the levels we talked about on many videos before, where Bitcoin, if it's going to be bouncing from, is right now also happening. So Bitcoin is starting to bounce from off this 80 to 85,000 US dollar region. And I've already shared multiple times in previous videos my strategy. I am not going to open up a long position on the lows right here because in my opinion, it's too risky. But in case we are going to get the relief here, I am planning to open up a short position around the 107 to about 108,000 US dollar level for Bitcoin. So on the 107 to about 105,000 US dollar level for Bitcoin, because I personally think we are going to get the liquidity on the stop side. And in the case we're going to be moving back towards this range here, it is going to be, of course, a great opportunity, in my opinion, to open up short positions again on Bitcoin. So that is the ultimate level I am looking at. And of course, if I'm comparing all the previous cycles towards each other on Bitcoin, we can see that we have seen this playing out in the 2022 cycle. We've seen this playing out in the 2018 bear market cycle. And ultimately, this is going to be a very great opportunity to be looking at again here, because historically, at the start of the bear market, you usually first see a big dump here, then a creation of a lower high back towards the 200-day moving average, and then a continuation of the trend here before ultimately creating a bottom and once again creating a new structure back towards the upside. But personally, in my opinion, this is only the first wave of many waves towards the downside to come here. Since if we're looking at most of the data right now here, it is just predicting and forecasting that we are already past the end stage of this Bitcoin bull market cycle. And yeah, if you're just comparing it towards all the previous cycles, it is just going to be likely. And of course, there are some potential invalidations that could be playing out. For example, yes, now we're looking at the death cross on Bitcoin. Historically, this tends to happen at the end stage of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. And whenever that happens, it of course confirms the beginning of the bear market. But let's say we are going to be seeing a bullish cross again here, and we're going to be invalidating this death cross, then for certain, this could potentially invalidate the Bitcoin 4-year cycle and could change the entire market for good here. So this is one of the invalidations I'm going to be looking at, but I don't think it's going to be a likely scenario. But let's say Bitcoin is going to be breaking back towards this high and once again confirm a bullish crossover. It is going to be, of course, invalidate the Bitcoin 4-year cycle, and we should be approaching it completely different. But as of for now on, that is not my main scenario. And of course, looking at most of the charts there, I just want to be seeing a clear bullish divergence on the weekly time frame before starting to say that now the Bitcoin bear market bottom is going to be in here. But as of for now, I am not seeing that here. And of course, one of the levels where I personally am very much interested in accumulating Bitcoin is most certainly going to be below the 70,000 US dollar region. And from of that region, of course, we also are going to be seeing the 200 weekly moving average, which is currently trading around 55,000 US dollars. But of course, like we know from previous Bitcoin bear markets, this is going to be the level where most likely Bitcoin is going to be finding very big support from. And every single time we bounce or go below this level this equals a tremendous and historical opportunity to accumulate Bitcoin, just like we saw in the 2022 bear market, where we traded below the 200 weekly moving average. But ultimately, those are massive opportunities that are going to align in the case Bitcoin is going to be breaking below this level. So yes, if we're going to be going below there, of course, we're entering the unlikely stage, and I will be, of course, most certainly accumulate Bitcoin very aggressively and build up very big very big swing positions back towards the upside. So that is personally what I am planning to be doing right now. That is, of course, the strategy I have in mind for Bitcoin right here. Yes, there's a very big scenario and a likely scenario that we are going to see a bounce towards the upside, especially since looking at the liquidity heat map, we're seeing a lot of liquidity being piled up above us, to be exact, more than about $300 million around that 100K region. So Bitcoin to squeeze towards the upside to grab out the liquidity is going to be most likely a case that is going to be getting created right now here. So for the first time, we're seeing some strength in the market. And yes, like I said multiple times before, I am not planning to long it right now here because in my opinion, it's too risky since the market remains to be, of course, ultimately weak and trading in a downtrend. And let's say we're going to be breaking below the 82,000 US dollar level. Then I will be, of course, looking to accumulate around 70K because then I think it's going to be a very great opportunity. But in the case that is not going to be happening, I will be just waiting and of course accumulate in towards short positions around that 100K to about 107K region. So that is exactly what I'm currently planning to do with my trades right now here. If you want to be staying up to date in real time, make sure to join the VIP Telegram group here using the second link in today's video description. It's not only my trades which you can join, but also the trades from my other professional traders, which I am working together with. And also, if you're just personally interested in trading, make sure to check out WeX in the first link in today's video description because you will be getting a 25% fee rebate by signing up an account using the first link in today's video description. And on top of that, you can get a deposit bonus up to $30,000. So make sure to check it out for sure. It is going to be very, very interesting. So Ethereum also is corresponding with similar levels on Bitcoin. Like on Bitcoin, we can see we're bouncing from this range right here. Ethereum is, of course, retesting the golden pocket on this Fibonacci, which I've set up from the low to the high here. So also for Ethereum, where I think we're going to be a great time to be selling off and, of course, potentially entering towards short positions is going to be in this region right here. Because in this region right here is where, of course, the liquidity is laying. And, of course, if we were to be creating a lower high, this is going to be a perfect zone, in my opinion, to be scale in towards those positions. So that is what I personally will be looking in towards for ETH. ETH ultimately, if we're looking at the bigger things of it all, is creating this very, very big consolidation phase. And ultimately, it's bouncing from this major level of weekly previous resistance, now flipping into support. But ultimately, it is just following the course of where Bitcoin is heading towards, right? And for me, I still think that Bitcoin remains to be a little bit weaker, and there are just too many confirmations that we are officially right now in a bear market. So I am not going to ignore all these facts in the market. So I'm going to continue to show you on my channel how I'm going to be trading this bear market, on how I am going to be building up major positions on Bitcoin on the bear market bottom. But of course, right now, it is still not the bear market bottom, in my opinion. I still think the bottom is not going to be in yet here. So all I've got to do is be very patient, let the market come to us here. So yeah, that was it for me in today's update video. If you did enjoy it, learn something from this video, subscribe to the channel, slap on the like button, and see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Goodbye.